we are talking about the most influential aspect in astrology for 2024, and that is when two major planets are coming together, which occurs once every 14 years, but actually in the same sign, it occurs once every 84 years. So we are having an 84-year return very soon in 2024, specifically on April 20th in the USA and April 21st in Europe. We are having the conjunction that you may have heard of, and that is when Jupiter, the gas giant in our galaxy, is coming together with Uranus. And they're coming together at 21 degrees of Taurus. So obviously that is going to be a very major point in everybody's chart. So personally, please look at where 21 degrees of Taurus is for you. That house is going to be lit up like a Christmas tree, because we also have the sun in Taurus by April 21st. So it's going to be a major event internationally as well. But if you have anything at 21 degrees of Taurus, if it's a planet or a point that is getting a mega energetic impulse by these mega planetary alignment, it means that if you have anything around, let's keep it a little tight, let's say 18 degrees to 23 degrees of Taurus is very affected here. But it also means 18 to 23 degrees of all the earth signs. So if you have anything in Virgo or in Capricorn around those degrees, that is being affected as well. And if you have something in the fixed signs around 18 degrees and 23 degrees of Scorpio, which is the opposition, and Aquarius, the square, and the other square is Leo. So the fixed signs, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, could experience some uncomfortable pushes. But yeah, let's dissect. And I will tell you that this is probably going to be the most in-depth video that you will see on the internet about this major astrological configuration of this whole year. That's because I'm going to go into all the asteroids as well. And I am not very clear about the exact story, but I can clearly understand that there is a story here, and it involves, you know, these ancient myths, these stories, this history that is being repeated, and we need to understand the symbols that occur around this to understand the collective thing that we're going through and how our position is in that story. So yeah, maybe we should start first by explaining the basics. So it occurs at 21 degrees of Taurus. That is a Sagittarius degree, first of all. It means that it is infused with that energy, which is very normal because we're talking about Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius. So naturally there is a huge Sagittarius energy already. It just means somehow that Jupiter is having an overhand because there's double Sagittarius energy here. It means that it is cloaked in this understanding of, you know, wanting to understand the meaning of life, wanting to gain a lot of wisdom, wanting to explore and feel excitement and upliftment, you know, adventure, and also looking at the bright side of everything through a little humor maybe as well, and, you know, kind of lighten the load in a way. But we're talking here about two major planets. Jupiter is the gas giant in our, you know, solar system. So it is the first mega planet close to us. It's huge, and it's, you know, it's smaller than the sun, but it's mega. It is a gas giant that sucks up the debris around it. And from that astronomical point of view, we can kind of understand the astrological symbolism that Jupiter, in a way, is also the protector. Because if it didn't suck all those, you know, stony debris in our solar system, then, you know, maybe they would hit us and destroy Earth and planets around us. So Jupiter is a protector, and, you know, hence why it is known to be a planet that blesses, protects, but also, you know, brings in prosperity, abundance, and growth in many ways, good or bad. You know, Jupiter is the exemplifier. It makes everything bigger. And you can tell that, you know, it's a gas giant, so it's big, and it fluffs everything up. But it is also the midway point sort of in our solar system. So we have the sun at the center. You know, we then have Mercury and all the and other planets around us, right? We call those the personal planets. So they affect us, they're close to us. It's Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And they kind of affect our personality, they affect our everyday lives. Yeah, we track those because they decide so much for us. But then we have the midway planets, which is Jupiter and Saturn, and that's where kind of the evaluation of life starts to happen, where we go beyond our personality, which is only this life, earthbound, you know. And from Jupiter on, it's about, as I said, the meaning of life. So, you know, what are you beyond this identity, this personality? Who are you more on a soul level, on a spiritual level? Jupiter used to rule Pisces, so this is where you understand that you're a soul, you're a spirit, you're a spiritual being, and you try to integrate, you know, what you experience on Earth and maybe the greater meaning of it all, and what is more out there beyond what we can see. So you start to question what you may believe in. You know, is there a God? Do you have a religious belief? How do you practice being the spiritual being? What are your tools? What do you do to keep in touch with being a soul? So this is also related to intuitional wisdom. And mostly Jupiter really brings in that faith element, your beliefs. And as the old ruler of Pisces, this is also your imagination and understanding your connection to the creator or creation as well. And Uranus is the first planet we call an outer planet. So you have these midway planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Then you have the outer planets, which is where your consciousness is undergoing a huge evolution. And, you know, where Jupiter and Saturn are the evaluation between Earth life, personality. Uranus takes it to a whole level, new level, where you're aware and awakened to that you are a personality here, that you're earthbound here, but that there is much more to you and much more to everything. And so you start to explore that. It's very interesting because both Jupiter and Uranus are about wisdom, intelligence in a way. But so where Jupiter is more about, you know, study and learning and questioning this experience, the meaning of life, you know, trying to discover and explore and learn through that, through adventure as well, trying to expand your horizon, right? And through beliefs. That's the kind of wisdom that Jupiter uses. But Uranus is the higher mind. So this is where you go beyond that perspective. Now you understand that there's more. There's more to you, there's more to life, and there's more to everything. And things become galactic, not just earthbound. So we gain perspective on multiple perspectives. Whereas I guess Jupiter is more Earth perspective and a little bit beyond that, and Uranus expands all of it. So our awareness is completely increased with Uranus. This is where we understand, you know, the cosmic connection. This is where astrology also comes in. But yeah, this is where you are able to get these downloads, these concepts, these out of the world kind of ideas, very futuristic, very ahead, beyond this reality. And this is where we start to understand with Uranus that everything is energy and that everything is a vibration. So not only are we understanding that there is a frequency to everything and that, you know, frequencies matter, but we're also probably with this conjunction also going to receive massive amounts of new incoming frequencies. And in Taurus, I would argue that that will change our reality as we've known it. So thanks to the wisdom of Uranus, we are awakening to a lot of things. One is, I would say, history, or what we have known until now, and that is not the full truth, for instance. We will awaken to the entire reality of everything and our relationship to it. I would even say like origins, awakening to the origins. And it means that will shape our understanding of reality in a very different way. And I think them coming together, Jupiter and Uranus, makes us understand that we can create or build the reality we want, not just the reality that is presented to us. So it's awakening to this whole new understanding. And that will create new ideas, new concepts, inventions that will leap us forward, potentially. In Taurus, where this occurs, it will affect our security. Taurus is about building and maintaining a tangible, realistic, practical reality around us, where we need to consider the basics, what we absolutely necessarily need. So the essentials of life, that is not only food and shelter, which certainly is, but it's also affection, pleasures, joys, meeting our five senses, taste, smell, touch, hearing, which is why, also because of the throat that it rules, that Taurus is also about music or beauty or arts as well. And it's about the natural. It's the first earth sign. So our appreciation of earth, of food, of beauty, of textures. We are, with this conjunction, probably also made to consider how important nature is, how the natural way is going to be very important, and how organic you want to live your life. So as you can tell, Taurus is very much about the materialistic side of it, the matter. And so you could also definitely ask yourself what matters to you and what is absolutely, again, essential in your life to meet your needs. And classically, Taurus is explained as being about money and possessions, and it certainly is that. But what on the background, sort of, it means that it is about the valuable and what is valuable to you, what is worth and what is worthy. What is quality? And we need to find the Taurian elements and expand that in our life, which is comfort, warmth, as I said, pleasure, touch, but also relaxation and beauty. And the simple joys of beingness. And building a foundation for yourself. And, a secure life that is uniquely yours because of that Uranus element. It has to be very individual. It has to be unique and different and cater to your needs. Now you have to do it your way. Not what society dictates you. And the Sagittarius emphasis of this degree says that you may need to explore here and there and go on a few adventures and maybe take some risks. but you will have to be very authentic about your needs. And this is where you can really create the life of your dreams through, also taking up that Jupiterian, Piscean aspect of imagining that reality you want, which is, specific to you. And we should not forget that both Jupiter and Uranus are very exciting energies. In that sense, yeah, it is definitely also about inviting the excitement into your life. And looking forward with faith, with trust. And there is change here with Uranus that is pretty radical. So it's not just about being unique, but it's also about going against the grain, rebelling, standing up for your views, for your needs. It has to be individual. It is about your autonomy, your sovereignty, your liberation. And as Uranus is, ruling Aquarius, this is where we all need to be liberated. This is where we all need to find that excitement again. And this is also about understanding that we are interconnected. So if you find it, I find it. And if you don't, I don't. Let's look at the history, because that will tell us a lot about what we can expect or have similar experiences now. So I go back 84 years. And when we go back 84 years from now, 2024, we find Jupiter and Uranus conjunct again, but this time in 1941. And it occurs May 8th of 1941 at 25 degrees and 38 minutes of Taurus. Just 2 days later, May 10th, there's this interesting point. Obviously, 1941, we find ourselves at the Second World War, which is raging in Europe. By then for a couple of years. But 41 is the turning point year in that war. It is when the war in Europe turns into a world war. I'm going to get into that. But on May 10th, so only 2 days after this conjunction, a very Uranian event takes place. And a close confidant, and obviously, high in the ranks of the SS. Rudolf Hess lands with a parachute in the United Kingdom, and it's being deviant, and it's being rebellious, and it's doing something wild, kind of without consent of his own leader. So it goes against authority, which is very Uranian. But it thinks it's doing good. In a way it is, because it's asking the United Kingdom to, not go into war with Germany because they're not able to win, so says Rudolf Hess. Because Germany is too strong and all that. And they should just, make a peace agreement and allow Germany to rule over Europe. And so, Taurus is also that security element that is, well, being broken, but also with a possible peace treaty also being, trying to be secured, right? Safety and peace. But his rebellion action doesn't lead to anything. Obviously, it upsets everybody, including, you know, the ruler or Hitler. So yeah, that's a very rebellious action, very Uranus. And he drops out of the sky, which is very Uranian. So, he tries something, he goes against the odds, but he fails. Well, you know, there's no guarantee that risks work. June 22nd of 1941. I would say the Jupiterian aspect kicks in. Germany invades the Soviet Union, which is catastrophic. That's where a lot of lives are lost. I believe millions of Soviet Union soldiers. So that's the first expansion of the war in Europe. But the major aspect that occurs, which is quite determining the fate of the whole war and the whole history, is when in the same year, December 7th, Pearl Harbor is being attacked by Japan. And so the United States of America is dragged into this world war, which is now, because of this, turned into a world affecting situation. And so now almost everybody's at war with each other. So 41 is that changing year in that mega war. It occurs at 25 degrees of Taurus, which is a Aries degree. So I'm not surprised that we're talking about a lot of conflicts here. 84 years later, 2024, we are finding ourselves at a Sagittarius degree, which, you know, is a fire sign, could potentially also be about some heated situations. But Sagittarius is also law, also the international, so things happening across cultures, across countries. And it also is about religion, so these topics can be at play here in 2024. So yeah, during the World War II, the second, 1941 was a turning point for the USA. So I guess in 2024, we find ourselves at a turning point again. So maybe Jupiter coming together with Uranus is a major changing point, always. And I feel just like 1941, we can say before and after. I feel that just like in 2020, though, you know, obviously affecting, you know, the pandemic, everybody in the world, 2024 is going to have something as well that we're going to say before 24 and after 24 because of this conjunction. And to understand more details, I think we should look into the asteroids and the aspects, obviously, of the chart. But I want you to get you through a few other days, just out of curiosity and if your age allows, you can go back and try to analyze what happened to you around these dates to see how Uranus and Jupiter work, how they operate, and how they affect. So every 14 years, we also have a Uranus-Jupiter cycle. They meet together in a sign, but every 84 years, they meet together in the same sign. So that's why they are in Taurus again since 1941. But so in 1955, which is the first 14-year cycle, they also meet. They meet at 26 degrees of the Crab on January 7th, 1955. So if you're that old, you can go back and try to see what you went through and analyze that for you. The second time that in the recent past Uranus and Jupiter met was 1968, December 11th, occurring at 3 degrees and 38 minutes of Libra. In 1983, now we're coming more to contemporary times, they also met February 19th at 8 degrees and 52 minutes of Sagittarius. I'm going to stop here for a little bit because I came across a very interesting astrologer who said that these dates since 1941 and then 1955 and then 1968 and then 1983 are very specific dates where special souls have come down on Earth to help the evolutionary process and bring in much higher consciousness. These are special souls like, rainbow children, indigo children, these people with a lot more awareness and great insights that bring, they also bring in these codes, these energetic codes that are being unboxed on Earth and have an effect on all of us to increase our awareness as a collective. So it is said that these years where Jupiter and Uranus meet is when special souls, these volunteering star seeds, so to speak, came into Earth. So that's quite an interesting theory. By 1997, Jupiter and Uranus meet again at 5 degrees and 55 minutes of Aquarius, February 16th of 97, yeah. Then in 2011, they meet again at 26 degrees and 49 minutes of Pisces. It's interesting that 97 and 2011 affect me personally, and I actually have certainly felt the 2011 one. That was on January 3rd. So here you can really understand how these energies work. And certainly by 2011, I was questioning a lot about my reality. And I was feeling like I didn't fit in anymore. And that is so Uranus. But Jupiter is expanding all of that, right? Is really, pushing us forward here and making us question and ask, what is it about? And what do you want? And philosophize, your whole life. And, is there more? Is this it? Questions like that, And the last time they met was 2009 on December 21st at 24 degrees and 17 minutes of Aquarius. Now, maybe in between they have met as well because there are retrogrades involved. So, but this is my personal research. And it's just interesting to see how these dates have affected you and what you've been through. When we look at the asteroids, I see a story. I don't fully understand it, but it's related to these ancient myths, right? And the most well-known is, I guess, the Greek mythology. And what I've come to understand, and it makes so much sense, is that, you know how we hear that history is repeated? These stories, these myths are continuously repeated, but they always use different names and situations. Why? And that is why it's very hard for us to understand that there's a correlation to all these stories. They are, in essence, always the same story, just used with different names to confuse everybody. And these stories, or this story, is continuously repeated. And maybe there's a reason why is this continuously repeated. I do know that when something is continuously repeated, it is ingrained into our subconscious mind and affects, you know, if something is repeated continuously, it has a huge effect. Unknowingly, it works in symbolic ways. So, looking at the chart and looking at the chart of the asteroids, I see that there's a smushing together of a couple of asteroids that we need to look into. First of all, 21 degrees of Taurus, where this conjunction takes place, is where we also find Pandora. And you may have known her or heard of her as Pandora's box, that kind of story. So this conjunction is hugely influenced by that story, that mythology, where Pandora has, well, it's actually more of a jar or a vault that she carries, which is transformed later into a box. It doesn't matter. It's just a thing. Treasure box. Filled with agonies, disasters, wow. Why can't I say that? Catastrophes. That's it. Catastrophes. So pretty awful things. And she is said to be the first human woman made out of water and earth. And she's sent to humanity, because you have to understand that these myths are talking about sort of mythological creatures, right? So with incredible, out of this world skills, you know, these giants and specially equipped, specially talented beings that live on, I guess in this case, Mount Olympus, the Olympians. So they are clearly not humans. So that's why Pandora is described as human. Okay, so there's a distinction. Anyway, she's sent to humanity with all forms of horribleness, I guess, in that box. And it's to punish humanity. It's to punish humanity because they accepted. It's a little complicated, but it's because they received or accepted the fire that Prometheus gave humanity. Now, these are sort of also symbols, right? So the fire that Prometheus gave is sort of truth, it's liberation, it's, you know, gaining authority over your life again, because I guess humans didn't have that even back then. So, and that's the theme of this conjunction clearly as well, because we're talking Sagittarius, we're talking Jupiter, we're talking Uranus. This is all about freedom. And that's what Prometheus gave humanity. But, you know, these Olympians, these magical creatures, these beings that were not human, did not like that. Because they wanted to be in charge, right? So it was actually Zeus himself, which is Jupiter here, okay, that ordered the creation of Pandora to punish humanity, right? What's so interesting is that not only is Zeus himself involved here as Jupiter, the person who reorders the creation of Pandora is involved as well. It is Vulcan, or he has another name. Vulcan is the Roman equivalent. He also has a Greek name, which is really, you know, hard to explain. Something with an H. He orders Vulcan, who is at almost 18 degrees of Taurus, so very near this conjunction. So he's here too. The creator of Pandora is right there. Can you see the forming of the story already? Vulcan is someone who makes the tools for these heroic Olympians. He is the son of Juno, which is the wife of Zeus or Jupiter. And it is not well explained in the stories. They think it may be the son of Zeus, or he's adopted as a son of Zeus, or he does not have a father, but because he's married to the mother Juno, or Hera in other words, we can just say that Vulcan was his son, okay? The creator of Pandora is right here as well. The person who ordered the creation of Pandora, Jupiter, is right there. But who else is there? Well, we also have Lachesis at 18 degrees of Taurus, and that determines our destiny. Lachesis is the thread that lines our birth and death together and all the fated events in between. It also therefore determines the length of our lives, and it determines, right, the fatedness of whatever we live. So obviously it says that there is a huge destined fated effect to this conjunction April 21st. And again, especially if you have something around 21 degrees of Taurus or 21 degrees of the earth signs, I would argue, then it is extremely fated, but especially in Taurus. And it's going to determine somehow also the length of things, the duration of things, which is also Taurus. Then we also have Lucifer. It is described that Lucifer is the opponent, right? It's rebelling, like the Uranian energy. It's being the opposition to God, I guess. It is said to be the bringer of light, and also because of the light element, it's very much about the morning star in the sky, which is it's Venus. And that's interesting because the ruler of this conjunction is Venus. So she's involved here, clearly. And in another name, she's involved as Lucifer. Now, this to me tells me this is going to be a very big occult day, because a lot of occults, like the Venus element and like the Luciferian element. And they believe in the power of light. So that's going to be tricky. It's a cult day, okay? It's interesting that this story with Lucifer is striving for the high. It wants to defeat the biggest light, you know, which in the astrological sense is the sun. Let's say sun is God, which is what the ancients believed anyway. So Lucifer, or Venus, the morning star, the brightest element in the sky, was fighting with God, with the biggest light, the sun. So obviously it never won, because the sun is always bigger and brighter than anything else. So it says that one should be kind of careful with aiming too high and aiming for the stars, aiming to be the biggest light. That when you do that, aiming for that top, the risk is that you fall really hard down. So there's a great danger in going way too much towards the light. I have experienced this myself, in where the danger of being like too Pollyanna, too positive vibes only, is very risky, because you're aiming way too much to the light, and the contradiction is then that it catapults you into the dark. It is like a boomerang. So you should be really careful of that. And maybe it playing a role here in this conjunction is that clearly rebellion is going to happen. And people, maybe false light is going to tell us, this is the awakening, and this is the truth, and this is the new. And that aiming towards those false realities is going to be very risky, and the downside will be big. So I think maybe this story of Lucifer reminds us that there's a danger in too much lightness, in too much upliftment maybe, and also too much excitement, and that it should always be motivated by our own unique path, our own unique understanding, and always voicing and building our own truth, not based on anything or anybody or anyone else. It has to be autonomous. It has to be uniquely you. We come back to Pandora. She's given that box, right? With all the horribleness and all the shadow of humanity. And all these catastrophes and illnesses that is also in that vault or jar or box. And they give her downfall as well. They give her her Achilles heel. They give her tremendous curiosity. And I think it comes from Pandora's story that we say curiosity killed the cat. Because her curiosity was the downfall of humanity, of herself, ultimately, being part of the humanity. So she opens that jar because of her curiosity. What is in there, right? And when she does, she's horrified by what comes out. And everything comes out very quickly. She's scared and she tries to close that jar, box, vault. And the story says that when she closed, only hope was left. And this can go a couple of ways. Should she have left it open longer so that hope would come out and that sort of brought the peace? Or because she closed it, there's still hope for everybody? Or hope was the last horror that should have come out as well? That hope is actually toxic because it keeps us in non-acceptance of what happens and of the dark and the shadiness that is also within maybe all of us. Maybe there's a danger to hope. It immobilizes and, maybe it doesn't get us anywhere. But so let's keep it positive and let's say that, how Jupiterian, that everything came out, but there is still hope. Is Pandora bringing out the downfall? Is it bringing out great concerns and disasters and illnesses? Is it bringing out our darkness and uncomfortable truths? Or is Pandora bringing us hope with this conjunction? Clearly, this story, a very old ancient story, is retold in the stars again. We are meant to deal with this story again. We're meant to integrate it, ultimately heal from this story, and bring peace to all these elements. So it's up to us if Pandora brings us mayhem. Is she going to repeat the end to a carefree life of humanity? Or are we going to learn that curiosity is not a bad thing and that we have our fate in our hands and that we do not have to accept any disaster or control over us? We have to heal Pandora's anxiety, and we have to heal also this authoritarian force upon humanity. The box wasn't hers. The story tells us that it was an external thing. It's a jar. It's a vault. It's a box. It's not Pandora herself. It's not that, going from the story, it's not that just she was created. The jar was created. And we have to be really careful what creates and dictates the building of this reality, of your own reality. It is said in the story that she liberated, the concern, the worriness, illnesses, by opening that jar. Is there something else Pandora could have or could liberate? Because that would be Uranian. That would be Jupiterian as well. How can we liberate ourselves from this Pandora's box? Ooh. Is that the Matrix? So Vulcan is one of the 12 Olympians. He is limp, or what they call lame back then. And bit of a loser because of that. Okay, lame, loser, comes from that probably. So he was handicapped. Okay, which is unusual, right? The Olympians were strong and, always represented as these extraordinary beings, right? But Vulcan was a little different, and hello, Uranian energy. And instead of being this big bad person, he was a person who created the tools, the attributes that the rest of the Olympians were so famous for. He created chariots. He probably created his own chariot. So in modern terms, we would call that a wheelchair. But of course, being an Olympian, he also used a lot of magic. So I think in the way they describe it, it probably is where the first robot was created, because he created dogs and protective lions and whatever not. So yeah, to me it sounds like that was one of the first robots in ancient times. He would have been able to do that because he was a metal worker. He was a blacksmith. And so he represents tools, attributes to enhance our skills, our path, our way. So this is also where, well, what do you need? What is essential for you, uniquely you, that you need in this journey? Let's say if you're a photographer, you need a camera. If you're a painter, you need a brush and paint. Or recreate paint from nature. How Taurian. Vulcan shows that we're gaining skills here. And he also represents fame. And, what can you become famous for, maybe? That's also here. So as the name says, Vulcan is also about volcano. He works with fire. He represents fire and volcanoes. He rules over Mount Etna, Sicily, I believe. So this also brings in the element that this situation could be involving maybe an outburst of a volcano or other natural disasters could occur after this conjunction, affecting possibly the entire year, if not the coming 14 years, if not the start of a coming 84-year cycle. So we have to really watch what nature is gonna do, because it could be disastrous. I guess we should also be careful with fire. This could affect like the metal. Forgive me for the abrupt ending to that part of the video. It's very hard to record a video on astrology during a Mercury retrograde. So I was saying that it is also about fire and possibly affecting the metal industry because of that Vulcan asteroid that I mentioned, being so close to the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus here. As you see, a Vulcan is like almost 18 degrees. They are at 21 degrees. I thought it would be nice to look at the chart, as you can see here. This is a little complex with the added asteroids that I just mentioned to you. And here you can see the exact alignment, the degrees. The first aspect, I suppose, that this conjunction strongly makes is the sextile, the almost exact 60-degree angle to Mars in Pisces at 22 degrees. This is, Pandora's story, where she was made out of water and earth, 21 degrees of Taurus. Mars representing our masculine side of going after our goals, fighting for our rights, but it's also our vitality, our body, and what we want to achieve, what our goals are, what our motivations are. And that is having a whole spiritual, maybe awakening due to that conjunction with Uranus there. Possibly, I would argue affecting our body. So this is going to affect our vitality. Mars is tired in Pisces. He wants rest. It means we need to quiet down more. We would like more solitude and have a stronger spiritual practice and infuse our motivations and goals in life with the understanding that we are a soul, and that there are bigger goals in life than just making money or stuff like just getting by, things like that. So the sextile with this big conjunction, I feel is just going to change, as I've been mentioning for many lunations, that it's going to change our goals in our lives, and this whole understanding of what this conjunction is bringing us, also with this whole mythological story, right, that's involved with, mankind's, shadow that Pandora represents, and, this whole destined vibe with Lachesis, and Vulcan reminding us that even if we feel like we don't have enough tools or the right ingredients, we can still be very relevant and successful. And this is truly, water and earth is truly where we build a very strong foundation. And it's just that we need to incorporate a broader understanding of our soul perspective, of our spiritual aspect. We need to be very in touch with our intuition. We're going to receive massive upgrades in energies and vibrations. We're going to receive massive amounts of messages, and it won't be in the usual way. It will be through possibly dreams in Pisces and being this close to Neptune, through intuitive messages, through sudden downloads in our mind, suddenly having this thought, this idea, this concept, and then we really need to, bring it into who we think we are from the broader perspective, so not just this identity, this name that you are playing out in this life, but that you are this grand soul and that you have a mission towards more unity in Pisces, towards more higher consciousness, feeling connected and one with all there is. And you know, this is Jupiter rules Pisces in a way, was the old ruler, so this is nothing foreign here. Actually, this is you know, more support. This is the energy that Jupiter understands. This is where there's a massive spiritual upgrade. We are clearly asked to have more faith, more belief, a stronger faith in the bigger picture. And we really need to listen to the quiet, sweet messages we receive, and we need to, make sure it's our own, and then build this tremendous, strong, wonderful, magical new reality that this possibly can bring us. And it's a reality that we can really shape. So it's where dreams are made, honestly, with, you know, Saturn, Mars, and Neptune in a way being so close together. This is also infusing the energies. And this is where we should be able to make our dreams come true. Because Saturn gives us the practicality of, you know, the discipline and the hard work that's necessary. Mars gives us the push, the motivation to make it happen. This is all about imagination, creation, and understanding you're not alone, that there's support, that there's energetic support, and that this is a possible launch lifting you up. You know, you can see that there is this parachute or kite that they say, kite formation in the chart, which is made through, you know, sort of a wide, but nevertheless a grand earth trine between the moon, who's in Virgo, Ceres, the earth mother goddess, who's in Capricorn, and then this conjunction, 21 degrees of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So that's it's pretty wide because of the moon. The moon is at 28 degrees. If we look at something else that I tend to not look at that much, but probably here is pretty relevant, and that is Lilith. So if we take Lilith into account, then actually this grand earth trine is exact, because she's at 22 degrees of Virgo, 19 degrees of Capricorn, and 21 degrees of Taurus. Makes this a perfect grand earth trine. This is, you know, changing a reality, really being able to anchor a new way of doing things on earth, new way of service, new way of legacy, new way of work, new way of making things happen. And well, they are all obviously earth signs, but it just involves so much of the natural, really, truly, because Ceres is the earth mother goddess, ruling fertility, our crops, you know, agriculture, but specifically grains. And this is, you know, nurturing yourself, you know, making sure that you do what makes you feel good. And there's a whole mythological story about Ceres as well. She's also Demeter. In, you know, as I said, there are these different names. One is a Greek name, one is a Roman name, but they're the same story. And she, you may know this story, you know, interestingly, she's kind of close to Pluto. Her daughter, Persephone, who is right there, kind of involved as well. And I'll tell you why. She's involved in a yod. There are a lot of yods here. And the yod is a finger of God, you know, this magical aspect. So anyway, Ceres is also Demeter. Her daughter over here, Persephone, is dragged down into the underworld by Hades, Pluto. He, well, takes her in, whatever, maybe with force or with her consent, we do not know, but he makes her sort of his wife. And because he lives in the underworld, you know, he drags her from Earth, where she was with her mother goddess of Earth. And so the mother loses her daughter, and that brings tremendous grief. So Ceres is also about loss and about having to do with, well, maybe the loss of those who you love. But in the case of Persephone, she's gone only 6 months. They make a deal with Pluto. Why? Because they have to. Earth Mother Goddess is so sad. She makes Earth barren and nothing grows anymore because of her sadness. And, you know, nobody wants that. So they make a pact with Ceres, the Mother Earth, basically. That, you know, they do want some fertility. They do want, you know, luscious nature. So they make a deal with Pluto, and she's only gone for 6 months, which we know as the autumn season and the winter season. And then, you know, nature is sort of asleep, sad, and, you know, infertile, you know, waiting until it can become this grand, luscious place of fertility again. That happens in spring and summer. The problem here for me would be that she's in Capricorn. That's the winter sign. So she's not very happy. You know, this tells me that she's in that phase where, you know, she's not with her daughter. And it would mean possibly that there is some, you know, infertility perhaps going on, and I hope not, but this could definitely be the indication. Either failed crops, problems with grain, or just problems with food, you know, issues with growing food, access to food. That could definitely be going on here. The Grand Earth Trine somehow does tell me that there is something good here as well. There's support for Mother Earth. And as I said, this new way of doing things, this new reality. But just Ceres here is not very happy. And maybe indicating that a lot of changes need to be made. The moon in Virgo is interesting. It is also about food in a way, also about agriculture, nature, animals. 28 degrees, crab degree. It's about possibly securing all these subjects, security about them. Or, you know, nurturing the need to nurture these subjects, meaning they need care. Food, animals need extra care. We need to take care of these things. We need to be in service of these things. the moon in Virgo with this situation, also a very wide trine to the conjunction. But I'm still going to mention it because the moon is obviously very important in any chart. So there's just the need for incredibly practical reality and organization and determination. A very detailed view on what is needed here. So this aspect would make things happen as well. And it would create us a plan. So this is where, you know, the ideas definitely strongly come in. And then the moon in Virgo gives us the ability to bring these ideas into a practical approach of like, well, what are the steps then that we need to take to make these ideas and concepts real, true, tangible, practical. Well, Lilith is complex. This is Black Moon Lilith. There is also Lilith the asteroid, which I usually like to mention more, but you know, Lilith is the repressed anger, and that would make sense when we look at Ceres, who's without her daughter in this particular instance, right? Because of the Capricorn. And you know, she's quite the rebel herself, right? Lilith, she is said to have left the Garden of Eden because she didn't want to serve Adam, the first man, and she rebelled, like Uranus would indicate. So this is female repressed anger or female rebellion against patriarchy, and that would make sense with the Ceres as well. So there is a lot of feminine energy with Ceres and Lilith, maybe indicating with this grand Earth trine to this conjunction in Taurus that women are part of this grand revolution that's occurring from April 21st on. So this grand Earth trine is this triangle, again, between Lilith, the moon, Ceres, and the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus here. That's the triangle. And it makes this kite towards Mars. And because the moon in Virgo is opposite exactly Neptune, which increases the curiousness of this situation between, you know, of the moon. This tells me that there is also, you know, the moon opposite Neptune. There is an ending. There's an ending. There's a washing away of a reality. That's normal for some new thing to enter. And, you know, the takeoff is really going to play out in our goals and motivations. Just a whole new idea of what we want to achieve in this lifetime. And a whole new outlook on life. And yeah, we're gonna do it differently. We're going to have such a different perspective that's going to change what we want and how we're going to do that. And I would argue even that our emotions are going to be a really big indicator of what we need to do. We're going to feel into our emotions. We're going to feel into our body that receives the emotions to understand what is right for us and what is our unique vision. And this is also healing the body, healing these subconscious patterns that have kept us in a certain reality we didn't want to be in, or we don't want to be in anymore. if we're going to receive all these tremendous frequency updates, you know, then that's going to affect our body, our health. And so it involves healing, integration of these energies as well. And maybe that's why Mars is in Pisces. We need to quiet down a little bit. You know, obviously Mercury's still in retrograde, so our mind is also much more in a slower pace, very reviewing, very reanalyzing things of how we do things, who we are. And as you can tell, you know, that Mercury retrograde is very close to the North Node, our destined path. As you can see here, there's also gold, the asteroid gold. And that's interesting if we look at, you know, Venus being here as well, 19 degrees of Aries with Chiron next to her. This is relevant because she's the ruler of this conjunction. So Venus is having a party here, the stellium in Aries. Gold would be something she would be ruling as well. So apparently this conjunction is going to affect the gold prices. I think they're going to go up massively. So obviously Taurus is also a financial sign, right? So this conjunction is also where a lot of changes to our financial reality are going to occur. This is either a sudden just, you know, luck with investments or, you know, stock exchange, sudden highs or sudden lows possibly as well. Just a lot of chaos in the financial market, but just possible great wins, great abundance and prosperity as well. Especially the investments you've made the last 1.5 years when we had eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, the financial axis. So any investments that were made back then and throughout the journey of Jupiter in Taurus, so just recent, 1 to 1.5 years, it's quite possible you will have a big win in those investments. And obviously Uranus is also about electronic currency, or, you know, these what is it called, the bitcoins and all of the electronic financial things that are also affected here. Possibly great increases of that. I am not a financial advisor, so do not take that upon me. I'm just naming the possibilities that could happen with this astrology configuration. So we obviously don't know what's exactly going to happen, but because Uranus is about the electricity, the the internet, and Jupiter just makes everything possibly bigger, and Uranus changing everything, big changes in financial markets. But Jupiter can go, you know, affect positively both these, Uranus and Jupiter, in that sense, are sort of even neutral. They can both affect it positively or negatively. You know, disasters of any kind can be highly triggered here. That's why I mentioned natural disasters with fire and eruptions, with volcanoes or earthquakes are possible too. But also great breakthroughs of, you know, technologies regarding nature and, you know, more comfort into our lives, and you know, helping us liberate this whole, well, most of us are dependent on the food industry, so maybe we can also rebel here and find our own way. This is why a lot of, you know, in recent years, probably related to Uranus, which is a long journey going through Taurus, has created like, van life and tiny houses and, reliving, a revival of gardening and all these mini agricultural little revolutions that we are seeing on the internet, that a lot of people are into these ways of integrating nature into our lives again. So, a lot of changes and major developments in that area is going to occur too. So back here, there seems to be something going on with the gold price, a gold destiny, golden goals, I would say, golden fate, and being maybe smacked into this situation here. I would say the golden ratio, which is like almost perfection. And that would make sense with the moon in Virgo, that we seek some kind of perfect middle road, the golden ratio. And the golden ratio is actually a very divine term. It's the secret geometrical patterns that underlie everything in the universe. So that would be very Piscean to understand as well. It's a little secret code here. So Venus being in this stellium, this party in Aries, right? It means that she's very fierce. She's way more confident. She knows what she wants. That's going to help us. It's not making... Well, there's a square to Ceres with Venus. So there's an upset between Mother Earth, Goddess, and Venus. And let's not forget that Venus is also known as the morning star, who's also known as Lucifer. So the battle here between Venus and Ceres is also that, I feel. So that means there's a struggle in power. There's a power struggle over who's going to win this reality. Who's going to be the light? Who's going to be the leader? And that's enhanced by Sun square Pluto in this chart. The Sun is at 1 degree of Taurus, so we've just entered the Taurian season. And Sun square Pluto is always, power struggles, authoritarian issues, and, rigidity, where Taurus is more conservative. And Pluto is asking us to break free and be revolutionary, forward-thinking, and non-conformist, accepting that there's a whole different approach to things and perspectives that Taurus doesn't like to see or accept. So there's this tension between the stubbornness, the old ways versus the new. And, obviously the Sun is important because the conjunction is occurring in where the Sun is, in Taurus. And this is important because, Uranus rules this situation. And, Venus being so close to Chiron tells me, again, much more confidence, healing confidence issues, healing body issues, and also healing our motivation, becoming more fierce, becoming more individualistic and independent, and a leader. And it's going to change our feminine aspect, which is about receiving and allowing. And really upgrading our worth, right? Our self-worth. What is worthiness? How can we give that to ourselves? And how is that going to change everything? Especially our goals. So there's an end to some strong soul contracts that's going to catapult us into a new reality. And I think a few things for that new reality apply, and that is probably a higher pace in reality. So things are occurring much quicker than in the old reality. This means that be careful what you wish for, be careful of what you think and imagine and envision, because those things might easily become the real, the true, the tangible, the realistic, okay? So be very careful with what you want to imagine and what you actually want in your life, because you might just get it. And I feel there's always great magic between Taurus and Pisces. So this is where we can create a lot of magic in our lives, honestly. I'm not just saying that to sound great. And on that note, maybe I should mention that there are 3 yods in this chart. Yods are the finger of God, and they show us a divine perspective. Now, let's start with the yod that points to what this is all about, which is the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. This is here, right? 21 degrees of Taurus. The yod is being made with Persephone, 20 degrees of Sagittarius, which is ruled by that Jupiter, between Persephone and the South Node in Libra. And the South Node is, the point we're working with a lot of these eclipses. Mind you, we are still in the aftermath of the eclipse season we just had at the end of March and the beginning of April. So there's a lot of eclipse energy here on April 21st. And obviously Uranus is a very eclipsy energy, or eclipses have the nature of Uranus. So the South Node in Libra being involved here in this yod is very significant. You see 14 degrees here of the South Node, but it's actually 14 degrees and, like, let's be specific, 59. So it's actually 15 degrees before anybody comes to... For me, this is 20 degrees, this is 15 degrees, and this is 21 degrees, okay? Which is why this is a yod. Persephone is that one, is the daughter that was dragged into the underworld. And, all this, the pomegranate, his story, and sort of the dark aspect of the feminine. And this is relationships, where, she's dragged into the underworld and she has to stay with her husband, wanting or unwantingly, in the underworld for 6 months. And then she's reunited with her mom for the other 6 months. And I'm not sure in both instances she's ever actually considered or asked what she wants. It's just decided for her. And that fate and that the sort of toxic relationship that Ceres and Pluto show us in the Persephone story is something we're dealing with in the South Node, Libra. We are trying to get rid of toxic relationships, toxic ways of relating to people, letting other people decide for us. Hello. To not let other people decide for us, right? To be clear. So we are working to release that, we are working on not negotiating our life, not seeking validation. And then it's pointing this to this magical conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus that's going to change up our reality, but also our relationships, as Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of relationships, who also rules this south node in Libra. So definitely a change in relationships, and where the toxic is deleted and out of our soul contract. And I find that fascinating because we've had the lunar eclipse, meaning the end, a full moon in Libra, and the next eclipse in Libra is going to be a solar eclipse. So that's a new way of relating in October. And now we're working on receiving those new vibrational information to help us relate to people in a healthy way, with much more leadership into our own lives. Knowing what we want, knowing what we are worthy of. You know? We understand what matters and what is valuable to us. And that's going to help us create healthier relationships. By October, we're going to see the results of that. Or at least a new storyline opening up for us. So that's yod 1. Yod number 2 is again related to that south node, so let's stay there for a while. Second yod involves this south node again, and again the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus, but this time sextiling Saturn and Mars. So Saturn, Mars, obviously, as we know, is working with that conjunction that we're talking about, and the finger of God is pointing to the south node. So again, relationships, goals, building our dream life is related to how we obviously relate to other people. And again, the focus to have healthier relationships, and that this conjunction is going to contribute to that as well, but probably a more liberated understanding with it being in the Sagittarius degree with, obviously Uranus. Third yod is between Juno and Vesta. Vesta is our home, our hearth, the warmth in our home, possibly our family. And Juno here is the wife, actually, of Jupiter, and she's about loyalty to the partner. She's about marriage and long partnerships. And this sextile between home, family, partnerships is logical. And it is pointing to Pluto in Aquarius, so meaning different forms, different ways of having a family, a home, and relationships. It's going to be different, more egalitarian, more equalness between man and woman or other forms of relationships. And having this unique perspective on family, long-term relating. And this is obviously, again, what this Uranus rules. So this was a very long video, and I hope that, taking you through these aspects, a lot of support, a lot of, Yaz, the finger of gods, and this whole mythological story, and these wonderful planets of wisdom that are guiding us towards a new fantastical reality where there's more control of our own individual lives, and that there's a massive upgrade to our goals, to our motivations, that it's spiritual, that it is soul bound, that it is going to affect our relationships, and it's going to affect all of our reality, including finances and possessions and home and pleasures. And that you are in charge, you are in power, and you need to ask yourself a couple of important questions, and that is, what matters to you? What is absolutely essential in your life? What are your basic needs? How can you have a simple, fulfilling life? How much is natural, the natural way, the organic life important for you? It should be. And what is valuable for you? What is worthy for you? What is quality for you? And how can you have this pleasureful, comfortable, wonderful life that you desire? Because it's right there for you, right there to achieve, to receive. And yeah, may you have a wonderful magical conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. Check out where 21 degrees of Taurus falls in your chart. And I wish everyone a wonderful magical outcome. May it be a comfortable ride, but be careful that this can also be disruptive. And reminding us to choose the reality you want and care for, not what is dictated to you. This is where we have much more control than ever before, as long as you gain more perspective, as long as you heal your sense of worthiness, okay? Let's create that magical reality that is promised here. And that Mother Earth needs us, and that we need to take better care of her as well. That's the story here too. So happy conjunction, and I'll see you in other astrology videos. Please take great care of yourself, your loved ones, and everyone around you. Bye.